All right, the recording has started, and this is the January 4th, 2021 Crossplane community meeting. First meeting of the new year here, so welcome to 2021, everybody, and I hope everyone got some time to unplug, recharge, and enjoy the holidays. So I didn't have a super strong agenda myself today. It was like some of this is going to be kind of getting things paged back in, I suppose, and just kind of getting all aligned again and sort of picking up where we left off, and also at times maybe remembering where we left off as well too. So in the first section here, I just kind of wanted to talk about the roadmap. We just released V1.0, which was amazing work from the team here. Before the community day, before we all went on holiday break. So the 1.0 is out, and it's a great statement on being ready for production and usage and all sorts of things like that. And the next phase here will be beyond 1.0, so the next release, like a 1.1. So we have the roadmap has been updated here. So if you want to check out the Crossplane repo and then the roadmap.md, we have a 1.1, what's next section there with a little bit of details. And then the project board, I don't think really has been updated yet, so we can kind of do that in the next time we do like sprint planning or something. But tried to capture a little bit about the main areas we'll be focusing on, and some of this may need a little bit of updating here. But I would love to hear some updates from folks about thoughts of focus areas and places where we'll be investing in this next milestone in 1.1. So are there items maybe that aren't even on this list, perhaps in areas we'll be focusing on from the high level items here?
Yeah, I think this roughly covers it. If we go back to the roadmap, I think that is fairly up to date.
Okay.
And so there's some carryover stuff from composition rolling into a 1.1 release. Supporting multiple API versions as we look to go beyond 1.0 is something I think that we talked about for package manager. There's some improvements around the code gen for better CRR handling with an array of resource references off of the managed resources. That might be worth a discussion, Nick, if there's any additional thinking on that, if we still want to go that route. The multi-language support, I kind of wrapped up the year post community day with design PR for, based on some of Alad's feedback. So I put that in the agenda for discussion. But what other stuff is there floating around? Dan, did you mention something that you were looking at that kind of came up over break?
Yeah, I listed a few things in the doc that could be relevant for the package manager, mostly just around different upgrade functionality. So like one of the big things we talked about with the package manager that wasn't something that was in the 1.0 release is safeguards about rolling forward to new versions and that sort of thing. And so I anticipate that will be a big focus area. There is, in terms of like more critical things, I'd say, there is kind of a bug, you could call it, for upgrading to a new version of a package if there's a dependency that has a different package name. So right now, the dependency resolver will create a new package if there's not a dependency that exists, right? And it needs to be there. If that dependency has if it's in the middle of upgrade, right, you might not have a revision in place. And so the dependency resolver will say, I need to update and add a new package to satisfy this dependency requirement. But really, you're just in the transition phase. If the names match, that's not an issue because the dependency resolver will try to create the package and say, oh, I see one already exists here. So it doesn't matter. So basically the problem area here is when you've installed something and then you install something that depends on it. So it's not auto resolving the dependencies. It's recognizing that one is there, but it just has a different name than the dependency resolver will default to using. So that's a more like short-term thing that we probably need to address. But right now you can do it by just using consistent naming schemas. But the issue I have there describes that problem.
Okay, cool.
So I suggest I just dropped in our private Crossplane core team Slack I suggest that maybe we spend a little bit of time toward the middle or end of this week reloading state. And I kind of want to do like a big planning exercise, like more than usual sprint planning, to just load up everything that we could possibly work on and then get a bit of or to kind of take the roadmap and boil it down a little bit for, I don't know, the next quarter or so, just for our team, to make sure that we've got a good idea what we're going to work on. Because I kind of, I don't know how about you guys, but I haven't been thinking about work at all for 2 weeks. So I don't know right now in my first meeting of the new year what the priorities are.
Yeah, totally. That'd be great.
I think I've got meetings basically all day today and all day tomorrow. So maybe Wednesday morning would be a good time to start.
Sounds good.
Cool. Let's see. Phil, did you already mention some of the multi-language support stuff? You mentioned that you had added a design PR.
Yeah, I mean, if you just drop over to the CDKs thing.
This guy?
Yeah. So I updated the README on this to kind of show the current, Fluent example, and I started, kind of reworking some of that, and I actually ended up surfacing a number of bugs I think that ultimately got caught in the stacks or the platform configs or whatever. And so Alad gave feedback that for all languages supported by JSII, which is basically the multi-language support that Amazon's created for CDKs, or for CDK and for all the CDKs, but it basically supports like .NET, Java, Python. They're going to be adding Go support, and so using the Fluent API won't necessarily translate well to all of those, and he's kind of lived that. And so basically put together a little design here that addresses some of those issues and provide some examples down below about what that would actually look like. And I'm pretty happy with that. It definitely is more dry than you would otherwise get. And you get all the compile time checking for the things that you need. And like I said, it kind of surfaced a handful of bugs that, things were like mistyped or fields that were in there that weren't correct. Maybe this would be solved in part by, some validating webhooks for compositions and things like that, before I got too far along. But at design time, it definitely kind of made things quite a bit cleaner and fairly modular with not a ton of indentation, which kind of made the editing experience very cumbersome. And so if y'all want to take a look at this and drop some comments, that would be appreciated. And, then if you go back to, I guess, that PR, I think I dropped a link at the bottom. Alad dropped a post that was super useful over the break, and it kind of highlighted the fact that as we're moving more towards running things behind the API line as opposed to during build time. If you go to PR 34 there, and then I think I dropped a comment at the bottom of this, but
I don't see it there. I think that was the PR I was on.
Oh, maybe he was on the issue 130.
Yeah,
I'm not positive, but. Or maybe it was on 1955. Oh yeah, click on first class multi-language support at the bottom, the link, the reference, yeah. And then it's probably at the bottom of that. Yeah. Oh, he responded. Yeah. So there's just some issues where they have memory leaks due to the way that they actually model this. And so running that behind the API line is kind of an open issue that they need to rewrite portions of JSII to really support kind of a broader set of use cases. And so that's kind of throwing into question the whole thing, in my view. If we can use this behind the API line in a reliable way, unless we kind of, just spin up temporary sidecars or something, I don't know. So there's more investigation that's required here, but I wanted to make everybody aware that we're kind of investigating this path. The dev UX feels pretty good. There are some open issues, as is called out here, for running things behind the API line. And I think we just need to have like a higher level brainstorm on where we want to go next and the experience we want to provide. But yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be good too to talk about this effort, Phil, in like the greater context that Nick was kind of bringing up too, around like a bigger planning exercise and all the things that we're doing and where we want to put some effort forth, et cetera. And, you know, the priorities around everything, kind of just repage everything in and understand, you know, what we're going to be focusing on in 2021 after, you know, going really hard to get 1.0 out by the end of 2020.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. I think Casey and both Casey and Move Off are not online to give an update on some of the recent efforts around provider code gen and then provider acceleration stuff. Phil, do you know the latest status of that, or Nick?
For which one? The
provider code gen, provider acceleration stuff.
I know that. Not in great detail. I do know that Casey did a very big push at the end of last year before he went on vacation. I think he was like right on the cusp of getting Terraform code gen sort of actually functionally useful end to end. So I think if it's not there, it's really close. So we'll find out soon, I hope.
Awesome. Yeah, I know he was showing some demos off too during the community day of that work. So that was really cool. Awesome. Yeah, so I think that, you know, at this point, I think like a release schedule for 1.1 doesn't, we don't have enough information to do that. I think we need to do a bigger planning exercise and understand everything that we want to put into it and, you know, where the priorities are.
I also have talking about going to like a 6-week release cycle, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, or at least I remembered us talking about wanting to tweak the release schedule to maybe give it a little bit more time between releases. Realistically, we often end up doing 6 to 8 weeks per release anyway, despite our stated goal of monthly releases.
Yeah, and in general, I personally don't have a big problem with that. I think that, you know, the situation I don't necessarily want to get into is when we, you know, go like early on in the project between like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, we were doing like 4 or 5 months, I think, at a time, which is definitely, people end up waiting for fixes for much longer than they should. So, you know, like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks is definitely a different story than like multiple months. So I don't have a problem, I think, with what it sounds like we might want to do. It's expanding the space a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to keep in mind now as well is that with the release of Crossplane 1.0, that means theoretically the sort of feature changes in Crossplane are gonna sort of, you know, we're gonna hopefully start to become a little bit more boring and just be sort of keeping the core of Crossplane running. I do think, you know, it's only 1.0, so we are going to add some more features, obviously, but there won't be breaking API changes there, which also means that we should have good compatibility with our providers from now on. So we're not going to be I don't think there's going to be as much of a need to ship every provider in the world every time we ship Crossplane. So maybe one thing we could consider is keeping a faster cadence for providers or something, or, you know, biting the bullet and saying providers release when they're ready, if they have their own release teams, and Crossplane gets released every couple of, you know, weeks or something like that. But yeah, definitely something a little bit closer to like the Kubernetes release cadence, maybe a little bit fast for now is my gut feel as to what would be sort of appropriate.
Yeah, another thing to note there is the 6 weeks would be for a new minor version, but we should have patch versions whenever they need to go out, right? So we could be releasing those every day if we needed to. So something to keep in mind there. We haven't really had many needs for a patch release in the past because with our like velocity combined with the cadence that we were releasing, which is pretty quickly, at least in recent months, then right, the patches weren't really super relevant. But we may want to just start doing patches like every 2 weeks or something, and that's what we do upstream, or, you know, around there depending on the time of the release cadence. So something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dan. It definitely has to do with like community demand for fixes as well too. Like if people are, you know, affected by something and, you know, there's a large demand for the fix, then doing a patch for it to get it out sooner definitely makes sense. Especially with like upgrade story being a lot more straightened out these days too. So yeah, that sounds good. Cool. Anything else anybody wants to bring up about 1.1 or roadmap beyond, et cetera? Cool. Let's jump down to the community topics then. So right before the holidays, we did the second Crossplane Community Day. That event was definitely a big success, I think. We had some amazing speakers, some really cool stuff that we were showing off. The 1.0 release was right before the event as well too. So it's definitely a really good place, I think, for the Crossplane project to be in as a whole, to have that 1.0 out, to have some stability, to be production ready, et cetera, and then to have an amazing event come together to kind of celebrate it a bit as well too, and then get some time off. So the recordings have been posted to YouTube. So on this playlist here, we have all of the Community Day recordings there. Every single one of the talks can be found here now. So feel free to share this link around for folks that are asking for it, so that all the talks can be found. I had another point to make on that, but I completely forgot what it was. Maybe I'm not ready for 2021 yet either. But cool, yep. So thanks to everybody for the great work that went into not just the Community Day, but also 1.0 as well too. I think that we have a lot of things to be really proud about to be accomplished in 2020. So super excited about that and what we all did.
Yeah, it was awesome to see the whole community kind of really come together around that, and all the people that came to talk and basically contribute to show off all their contribution to the project was super awesome.
Definitely. Cool. So were there any particular PRs or other technical deep dives to do that folks hadn't yet added to the agenda?
No, I think we've covered it. So Nick, if you want to maybe schedule some time for like planning exercise and also maybe like a retro, for like 1.0, that might be nice.
Yeah, I've got for our Upbound team, I put in a retro already, I think, for Thursday morning, and planning. I feel like it might be nice to break the planning up over 2 sessions or something, like do like Wednesday, then Thursday or something, so we can just sort of do a pre-game brainstorm for an hour and then come back the next day and like actually put it all together or something like that. So I'll try and find some time for that as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, sounds great. Cool. If we didn't have anything else at this in the agenda here, then we can continue that effort to figure out the planning and get the Q1 plan here for Crossplane project like more solid over the next week or so. And then we can break off here, and if Slack is going to be nice, then we can keep talking on Slack.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Oh, and I did see that Alad came back and he said that they do spawn a new child process for every CDK8's invocation behind the sidecar. So it's actually not impacted by that issue.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Take care.